Hey guys, I thought I would take a minute to post a 2-year review of the Daystate Red Wolf. It's been 2 years since I've had this, and I did one for 1 year. I thought I might as well do one for 2 years. I'm pretty sure that I've put well over 20,000 pellets through this rifle, 20,000 shots, or more, I'm sure more probably. I haven't really been keeping up with every shot, but I've had 0 problems with this air rifle. No downtime at all. It's been extremely reliable. All I have to really do is feed it pellets and give it air, and I clean it occasionally. I usually clean the barrel around 2,000 shots. I can go longer than that. I think I can go probably up to 4,000 or 5,000, but I don't want to push it and have some flyers when I don't expect it. So I usually clean it around 2,000 shots. And when I say I'm giving it air, I'm actually giving it nitrogen. I've been using nitrogen in my air rifles for the last, well, couple years. As soon as I got this, I switched to nitrogen. It's just a clean gas, very dry. So that's what I usually use. Now, if I'm going to a Grand Prix, I'm usually filling up, like if it's I have to get on a plane, I have to degas the gun, so I usually have to fill up at a match, and then I'm just using probably regular air. And I've noticed no performance change from one to the other. But whenever I'm at home, I'm using nitrogen. So this year I went to 3 Grand Prix and the AFTA Field Target Nationals, and I believe I went to around 18 or so local matches here in North Carolina. So quite a bit of shooting. This year I flew to Arizona and California, and it was the first time I'd ever flown with an air rifle before. Well, for that matter, any kind of rifle. So that was a new experience for me. Didn't really have an issue. The only issue I had was leaving Arizona to come home. TSA really wanted to look inside the bottle here, and I'd never had the bottle off, and really didn't want to be messing with it. And I talked to a manager and explained to him it was an air rifle and that it was degassed, and he was cool with it. Put it back in the case and got home just fine. And the case I bought, actually, I've had it as long as I've had this rifle. Believe it or not, I bought it Harbor Freight. It's a heavy duty, sort of like a Pelican case, and real long for this, and it did just fine in it. Nothing was out of place or broken. Everything was fine. So I had a good experience with that flying. The only and to degas this gun, I should mention that. I wasn't really sure how to degas the gun, and the best way I found is to take the stock off and to just very slowly, just barely crack open the fill port, and just let it just slowly come out. And so that's how I degas the gun for traveling on the plane. The only modifications I've done to this gun is I did add, I would say that's a low to a medium riser there. And what I did, I made this myself. What I did is I got a bolt that's the same size that holds the stock on here, but it's just longer. That way I'm not modifying the stock. I really didn't want to drill into my stock if I could help it, so that's what I did. The reason I have that on there is only for kneeling and standing. We have some really evil match directors here in North Carolina that occasionally like to put a target for kneeling and standing up high, and just with my body type, to be able to get in a position where I'm getting my elbow onto my side, or trying to get it on my hip. I needed a little bit of a lift, so that's what that's for. That's the only time I use it, is for standing and kneeling. And still using the scope wheel, custom scope wheel from JD's Custom Designs. And little spoiler alert, he's sending me something new very soon that is going to be an upgrade to this, so I'm excited for that. But this one's worked great. I've had no problems with it, and it's magnetic. You can take it right off, put it on. That was great for traveling on the plane. Didn't have to worry about it snapping. I could just take it off the scope and have it in the case separately, and it works great. So I highly recommend that. This year I shot in the rain, and I did it on purpose because I wanted to see not only how I would perform, but I wanted to see how the Red Wolf electronic gun would perform in the rain. And I would say it was moderate to heavy rain. It was raining. I mean, there was no doubt about it. And you know, I tried to keep the gun as dry as I could. Between lanes, I would put an umbrella over it, but the gun got wet. I mean, it just, no doubt about it, it just got soaked. It performed fine. It shot great. The rain bothered me more than it bothered the gun. And the stock is pretty well, it's got a really good thick coating on it. So the stock, I wasn't really worried about it getting warped or anything. And the only thing I would do is on the checkering on the grip, I would probably make sure to put some gun oil on that, just to make sure if there's any raw places that it would be well protected from moisture. So that's the only thing I would recommend there. And the electronics were not affected by the rain at all. When I got home from that match, I did pulled the stock off and dried everything, of course, let it dry, wiped down the gun. But I also opened up the inside here that exposes some of the electronics, just to see if there was any moisture in there, any water, and it looked like it was fine. So I was very pleased. You know, sitting in the rain for 3 to 4 hours shooting, and it shot great and performed well. So no worries there. This gun has a really long battery life. It's an electronic gun, so it has a battery here in the grip. I guess it's called a LiPo battery. I don't really know a lot about batteries, but the battery lasts so long that sometimes I forget to charge it. Now, if I'm going to a big match, I'll make sure it's charged, of course, especially if I'm traveling. But sometimes I forget, just, you know, shooting local or shooting at home. I forget sometimes to charge the battery. So, and this happened the other day. I was out here shooting, making sure everything was zeroed in, and that's another thing. I never have to really adjust the zero, very little, maybe a click or two. I mean, it holds it really well. But anyway, I was shooting and I noticed some flyers, and I was like, this is such an accurate gun that when something goes a little strange, you notice. And I couldn't figure it out. And I looked over the gun and looked it over, and everything, nothing really, the barrel didn't seem to be whacked or anything. I mean, it looked okay. And I finally checked the battery, how much charge the battery had, and it was down to 7%. Now, this gun does have a warning on the screen that'll tell you whenever you have a low battery, but either I didn't notice it or it hadn't told me yet. But it got down to 7%, and then I started getting some flyers. So once I charged the battery up, you know, 7% is low. Once I charged it back up, it was shooting great. I mean, well under a dime at 55 yards, and that's off of sticks. I mean, it was accurate again. So I'm pretty sure that's what it was. It was the battery was just a little lower than what it wanted, and so it affected my accuracy just a little bit. Charged it up, shot great. So for now on, I'm probably not. I'm going to make sure that it has at least a 10% charge on the battery, preferably full charge. So, but anyway, yeah, the battery just lasts a long time, and you kind of forget it's there. So to find out how much battery power exactly it has, I bought this battery tester off of Amazon, and you just disconnect it from your gun and then plug it in, and it'll instantly tell you the exact percentage of charge on the battery. This year I experienced probably the most wind and I've ever shot in, and got a lot of wind practice, and I enjoyed that a lot. Both when I went to Arizona and California, it was pretty windy. And we have wind here in North Carolina, but we're shooting a lot in the woods and sometimes in the field, but a lot of shooting in the woods. So the wind does affect you, but it's just different when it's just wide open, like in the desert or in a, you know, a very open setting. So that was something different for me, and I really enjoyed it and want to do more of that. So I learned some things. I keep a spreadsheet of my performance from year to year, and for this year I had 87% hits this year, and that's a 2% improvement over last year. But I actually think that's pretty good, because I really believe I had tougher conditions this year than last year. So I think that 2% is, you know, I'm feeling pretty good about that. And I ended up finishing third in the Grand Prix standings for the nation in the after Grand Prix standings. So I'm proud of that. And so that's my 2-year review of the Daystate Red Wolf. A big shout out and thanks to Daystate and Air Guns of Arizona for the rifle. And the Red Wolf is just an awesome rifle, and Air Guns of Arizona is the place to get yours. So I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you again soon. Thanks.